Okay, we're going to begin lesson 11.2. 11.2 is adding integers. And again, like always, just make sure that if you have, if you don't have your paper yet, make sure you get paper out and put this in your yellow folder. So we're going to be adding integers. The first thing we're going to do is use what are called integer chips. And so integer chips they look like this. They're yellow and red. And let's say, for example, we're going to, now so far we've added we've added fractions, we've added whole numbers, we've added decimals, and so in this lesson we're going to be adding integers. And we're going to use integer, just to show you how integer chips work. The yellow is going to be the positive side, and the red is going to be the negative side. So when we talk about negative numbers. And so let's say we have an example like this. Just we'll keep our numbers really small. We're going to say 3 plus a negative 5. And we're going to put brackets around the negative 5 so that we don't get that mixed up with another symbol. So in this case, we're going to say, okay, we're going to have 3 positive chips. So 3, 1, 2, 3. And we're going to add 5 negatives. So we're going to say 5 red chips right here. And I'm going to go like this because then otherwise I'm going to run out of space here. So 3 positive and 5 negative chips. So when we do this, we want to see what we're going to end up with when we add 3 plus negative 5. And so when we have 2 chips that are the same, these are called 0 pairs. So we're going to group these two. So we have 1, 2, 3 0 pairs. And if we remove our 0 pairs, it's kind of like they cancel each other out, but we're going to remove our 0 pairs, and we end up with 2 red chips. So we end up with a negative 2. And we'll do that again so you can kind of see how it works. And then we're going to show you how to use some other examples. So let's say, for example, we have a problem like this. We have 2 plus a negative 4. And we want to see what that's equal to. So we're going to take 2 positive chips, 2, and we're going to add 4 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to put them in a row just so they're easy to find. And then we look for our 0 pairs. We're going to group our 0 pairs. So there's one group of 0 pairs. We're going to take those out. And there's another group of 0 pairs. We're going to take those out. And then we have our end result is equal to, again, a negative 2. Now another way to do this is, let's say we have a number line, and there's a number line in the back of the room that you can kind of check out. And let's take and put we're going to use a straight edge here. We're going to use a number line. And we're going to have this be 0, 1, 2, 3. And if you need to stop and pause the video so that you can get the number line kind of drawn, we're going to say, okay, well, we started with a positive 3. Let's do this example on number line. So positive 3 is 1, 2, 3 right here. And then we're going to add a negative 5. So if we add a negative 5, it's kind of like, okay, we went ahead 3, and if we add a negative 5, it's like we're going to go backwards. So adding 3 looks like this. We go forward 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to, because it's negative, we're going to go back 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're going to end up back here. So we went forward 3 and backwards 5, and we end up with a negative 2. And again, same thing as we did when we had our chips. If we use our number line for, we're going to call this problem letter A and problem letter B. If we have the same example for problem B, again, if we draw our number line, we start with 0, and our numbers are small, so we don't need to make our number line too big. We start with 2, and so we go forward 2, so to the right for 2, positive 2, so plus 2, and then we're going to go negative 4, so we're going to go back 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is a negative 2, so we're going to end up back over here. So we're going from positive 2, and we're going to go back negative 4 places, but we land on negative 2. Now let's use another example. Football is a good example that uses positives and negatives a lot. And so let's say, okay, we have a football field, and you don't have to use a straight edge for this, and this is kind of a just freehand football field. And of course we have the 50-yard line, and this will make this be the goal. And there. And then we have the 40, the 30, and the 20. We can kind of spread those out about the same, the 40, the 30, the 20, and so on. So let's take and draw that. And let's say that on our first play, we'll just put that in there just to kind of give you the idea of a football field. For those of you that are familiar with football, that makes it pretty easy. So we have the 40, the 30, the 20, and of course the goal, and then the 40, the 30, the 20, and of course the goal. I think it's probably the 10. I think I skipped that one, but I think you get the idea of it. So let's say that on our question is this: if we want to see if we can, on 3 downs, if we get a first down, even though you get 4 downs, so we can decide on the 4th down whether or not we want to go for the first down, or whether or not we want to kick the ball, or what we want to do. So let's say on the first play, we're on the line of scrimmage here, and we're going to say, we'll just make a number line, and let's say we start at 0. And in the first play, we have a gain of 6 yards. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'll say plus 6 on the first one. So we go from line of scrimmage, and we're going to say forward 6. And again, if we use our straight edge, it's probably works out a little bit better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there is 6 right there. And then on the second play, we have let's say we have a loss of 2 yards, or 8 yards. Second play, a loss of 8. So we started out on the 6-yard line, but now we lost 8 yards, so we're going to go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we're back behind the line of scrimmage 2 yards. So we went from the 6 yards forward. Now we're back behind the line of scrimmage 2 yards. So we had negative 8. Now let's take and go on our third time. Let's say we had a gain of 11 yards. So we have 11 yards, and so we were behind the line of scrimmage, negative 2, and we're going to go 11 yards forward. So that lands us on, let's go a few more here, see where we land. So we went from here, we had a gain of 11, so from negative 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we land up right here, which would be, we'll line this up right here. So that is a gain of 11, and that is the 7, 8, the 9, so 9 yards from our original line of scrimmage. So now we have to decide. We didn't get a first down, so we have to decide if we're going to, depending on where we started out on in the field, we have to decide whether or not we're going to kick a field goal, or whether we're going to run the ball and make a decision. So we see negative and positive numbers a lot when it comes to football. Really easy examples of when you add and subtract, when you have gains and loss on the different plays. Now let's take and I'm going to turn the page and give you another example of when we are adding integers. Let's say that we have in our lesson yesterday we learned about what absolute value meant. So let's say we have our number line, and we have 0, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say 5. And then 5, negative 2, 3, 4, 5, and negative 5. And so we can say that the absolute value is, again, absolute value means is equal to the distance from 0. So let's say we had an problem where we had, okay, a negative 7, and we wanted to add a negative, negative 4, and we want to add a negative 7. So we start with 0, and we start with negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll start with negative 4, and then we're adding on another negative 7. So extend this out a little bit. So we went 4, and then we're going to add on another negative 7. So from here, 1, 2, 3, and keep going, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we end up where we are a negative 11 way over here. So it's kind of like we went in the hole, and then we went in the hole 7 more, and we end up with negative 7. Now the absolute value of negative 4 is 4, and the absolute value of negative 7 is 7. And since they were both negatives, negative and plus a negative, we end up with a negative 11, which is pretty easy to understand. So if you're going to go in the negative twice, you're just going to get more in the negative. If you go with a positive, if you're adding positive numbers, of course, you just add up, you get a bigger number in the positive. What happens if we have a negative 8? So let's just go on to a different problem here. A negative 8 plus 3, positive 3. So let's say we're starting out with negative 8, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and negative 8, which is 8 away from 0. The absolute value is 8, because it's 8 away from 0. And we're going to add 3. So 1, 1, 2, 3, because positive 3 is 3 away from 0. But we have more negative than positive. How many more negatives? So how many more negatives do we have than positives? Well, we have 5 more negatives than we do positives, which means that same thing if we went back and used our number line, we'd say, okay, we have negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we had a positive 3, and we could go to the right for 3, 1, 2, 3, and we land on a negative 5. So you can kind of see it by using a number line, and just an idea, just to kind of know. Some people just kind of figure it out by using their the absolute value or the distance from 0, and they find the difference of the two. So let's take and do a couple more examples. Let's go to page 539, and you can turn to your book right now if you want to do that. Otherwise, you can just write them down with me, and we're number 5. So let's take a negative 10, and we're going to add a negative 5, and put the brackets around just so we don't get our symbols mixed up. So 10 is 10 away from 0. Negative 10 is 10 away from 0. And negative 5 is 5 away from 0. So if they're both negative, so the two negatives together add up to a negative 15. So in this case, again, we have 2 negatives, and of course it just gets further and further negative. So if you started with negative 10, which is way over here, 5 more would put you way off the paper. So negative 10 plus negative 5 is negative 15. Let's go to number 7, where we have positive 8 plus a negative 15. In this case, we have 8 is, of course, 8 away from 0 on the positive side, and we have negative 15, which is 15 away from 0 on the negative side. But there's more negative numbers than the negative number is bigger than the positive number. And we say, well, okay, by how much? Well, it's 7 more. There's 7 more negatives than there are positives on this particular problem. And if I go back up to our number line, and if we start with a positive 8, which would be over in here, 6, 7, 8. So if we went 8 positive, and then we went back 15 negative, we go